In this video, I'm going to discuss preparing for auditions and managing stress. Stress is part of every performance, but the more prepared you are and the more different ways you have dealt with performing the music you're about to play in different environments, the less stressful the uncertainties of the actual performance will become. More preparation, less stress. Any uncertainties create anxiousness and stress. I'm going to be playing the excerpt from Porgy and Bess, the overture, which for percussionists is one of the most stressful excerpts that we have to play. I'm going to play a little bit of this recording so you can hear the music that I'm trying to prepare. You get the idea. It's lots of notes. Technically challenging, and it goes on for a long time. I'm going to be practicing this not on the xylophone where it's written, but on marimba. I'm doing this for two reasons. One is to take me out of my comfort zone to learn to adjust to the spacing of different bars. I'm also going to try to reduce my sound level, so I'm playing with soft mallets because I'm going to be playing this hundreds of times preparing for the audition. And part of the muscle memory doesn't need to be having the exact mallets in my hands. This is slightly different from what other instrumentalists do, but the process by which I'm going to attack this excerpt can be used across any instrument or any performance. It doesn't have to just be excerpts. Any difficult passage can be mastered in this way so that by the time you get to the performance, you've played the part in many different styles, in many different environments, in many different tempos, so you're ready to deal with whatever the audition room will throw at you. So this excerpt looks like this. That short part of it. I'm also going to practice this with a different sticking or a different fingering so that I can get used to striking the right notes and making sure that I know the notes I'm hitting. I'm not completely relying on muscle memory. Right there, I made some mistakes. As part of excerpt training, anytime you make a mistake, stop, assess why you made the mistake, and go back and fix it, rather than keep running over that speed bump over and over, because then you're practicing incorrectly. So I didn't play those notes correctly because I was using a doubled sticking and I wasn't preparing for the spacing in the notes. So I'm going to slow it down. I made one mistake there. Slow it down even further. Now I've mastered that part slowly, and I will bring it back up to tempo. Speed and taking the tempo down is a huge help no matter what you're practicing. I'm also going to practice this excerpt in different styles, placing accents in different places, so that I know I can actually improvise on the excerpt or on the set of notes that I have to play that are difficult. So once I'm comfortable improvising, when I play them the correct way, that seems easy. Each time I'm interpreting differently so that I'm getting used to playing the same notes in a different style. Oftentimes in orchestra auditions, you're asked to play something differently in the finals. The conductor wants to see if you're flexible. Same thing in chamber music settings, in auditions where you're playing full pieces with colleagues. They may try out one style and a different style. That can be very stressful if you haven't practiced playing differently. So we want to master our interpretation and then practice different interpretations as we lead up to the audition. In the orchestra world, and actually in the ensemble world, playing in time means getting the job. If you don't have steady tempo, no one wants to play with you. Doesn't matter how beautiful your sound is, if you can't put the notes in the right place, you're not going to be a good ensemble player. So practicing with a metronome is essential. Practicing along with recordings is also important. The use of the metronome typically is on every beat. That can be very helpful. It's more illuminating if I move the metronome to every half bar. I can really tell if I'm pushing or dragging on the notes when there's more space between the metronome clicks. Even better would be just downbeats. So you could hear that I rushed a little bit and didn't quite get to the downbeat on time. This is really valuable practice. So I'm not quite with the metronome. I need to really use my internal pulse to adjust. Now I'm in the pocket. We can also take those metronome clicks and move them not on the beat, but in between beats. So that they become afterbeats or backbeats. Ways of putting audio input into your ears and making you adjust, which is exactly what you have to do in ensemble playing. So I will practice this excerpt on the high end of my marimba, which is close to the size of the xylophone. I'm also going to practice this on different instruments, as many as I can, and in as many different acoustic environments as possible, so that I'm reacting to the sound that I'm hearing and learning to adjust. You can hear I missed a note there because I wasn't adjusted to the larger spacing of these instrument bars. Eventually, at the end of my practice session, I'll move over to the instrument that I'm playing for the audition, same size, hopefully I know what it is, and I'll use the mallets that I'm planning to play. So I'm going to try to test myself and see how quickly I can adjust, which is part of the art of auditioning. You can also bring colleagues in to listen to you play. If you have a long list of things to play, write the names down on little pieces of paper and randomly select excerpts. So you're playing every day in a different order. That's what's going to happen on audition day. If you're used to doing that, it's no big deal. If you're only used to playing your excerpt list in the printed order and it's asked for differently, that's stress that you need to manage on the audition day. If you've done it before, it's very easy. You're confident, and that helps minimize stress. For percussionists, for string players, breathing is really important. For us, I find that exhalation is very important. So if I have a stressful part to play, I will exhale into the downbeat. Rather than that creates tension. So for me, breathing out to the downbeat becomes part of my practice for relaxing. Experiment, find out what helps. Another way to help minimize stress that I found valuable is to get the stress out of my hands. I want this to be as relaxed as possible. What works for me is to squeeze my toes in my shoes. I'm redirecting the tension as far away from my hands as possible. So I curl my toes in my shoes and put the tension somewhere else. I'm still missing notes as I'm talking to the video camera because I haven't practiced speaking and playing and speaking and playing. So if I were doing this as part of a live session, I would be doing this kind of practice for a video camera over and over and over to acclimate to this kind of environment. As you're doing auditions, you want to prepare walking in, setting up, finding your space, and then getting in the practice room zone. Take the time you need to get into the correct space. So that you can play accurately. And if you can't do it accurately, slow down, as I said earlier. Still not right. Still a clam. Slow down. You get the point. You don't need to watch me practice, but this is the kind of detailed, exacting, never letting a mistake go by attitude you need to bring to auditions. The idea of preparing and putting yourself in stressful situations to acclimate to that environment before the performance really helps. If the performance is the first time you've done the whole program top to bottom, you're going to make mistakes, and your reaction to all the uncertainty probably will lead to more stress and more mistakes. One analogy I like to use is Michael Phelps, the swimmer. He didn't just swim those world records and win gold medals on that day. He'd swum those times in exactly the same way dozens and dozens of times before each of the Olympics. He had practiced and visualized that event and done it so many times that when he walked out to the starting block, he was in a familiar environment and he just had to go on autopilot. He knew he could do it. He had the confidence. So if we practice in that same way, like an athlete, staying hydrated, staying focused, staying well rested, and practicing, never letting a mistake go by, we'll have more success in auditions. I hope you find some of this information helpful.